Hey y'all, welcome to my booktube channel. I'm Jenna, Creepy Quills, and this is Skeleton Steve, who likes to read, along with his pie hat. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Today we're going to be doing my November reading wrap-up, which includes the Camathon. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the Camathon, and the Camathon was actually a readathon that included two authors, both named Cameron. Cameron Robeek, who wrote Disco Deathtrap, and Golf Curse. He's also the author of Kill River and Kill River 2, which I read both of those and enjoyed both of those. And then Cameron Chaney, who wrote Autumn Crow. And I believe this is his first printed novel. His other one, I believe, was only available on ebook, if I'm not mistaken. But Cameron Robeek actually designed all three of the covers, so hence Camathon. He's a very talented artist. I love his covers. I actually reached for first, which was actually kind of a risk for me because I was coming out of a book slump, and usually I wouldn't reach for an author I hadn't read before because if the writing is bad, it can set you back if you don't enjoy the book. But I really loved this cover, and the tag is Every Night is Halloween in Autumn Crow. And I love Halloween, so I decided to risk it, and it was definitely worth it. I enjoyed this very much. It actually kind of made me want to read more, so it got me out of my book slump very well. This is a collection of short stories that centers around a town where every night is Halloween. And the collection was very what I love an anthology to be. You had some that were, quite a few that were very creepy. You had a touch of supernatural. There was even one, what was it, Pumpkin Light, that actually got me a little teary-eyed. It was very bittersweet. I believe that was the second story. And then Burnt Brownies was very unexpected and stuff. What I like about him is that he seems to be one of those authors, the horror authors, that you don't know who's going to survive, that nobody may survive. There may not be a survivor girl, and I appreciate that in horror authors. It actually gave, the writing was very smooth, and he actually gave me very much scary stories to tell in the dark and Goosebumps vibes. Like if Scary Stories and Goosebumps had a cousin, it would be this. But this is definitely a collection, a Halloween short collection that I could see me keeping on my shelf and reaching for. And I really hope that there's a sequel. I could see in the sequel, like it would be awesome if maybe there was like a town map, maybe some pictures from this town, because I found this town very fascinating. So yeah, if you want like a really good Halloween to-go anthology that isn't too, it's not extremely heavy on the gore or anything, then I suggest giving this a try. It definitely was really, really good, and I recommend it. Alright, so thank you Cameron Chaney for helping me out of my book slump. Next up I read by Cameron Robeek, Disco Deathtrap, and this is 80s slasher horror at its finest. Look at that cover. I love the simplicity of it with the disco ball and the skull. So this is about a large group of teens. Like I said, it takes place in the 80s. They're actually going to a New Year's party. They're celebrating New Year's at the Rollerville Roller Disco to pull an all-nighter. Little do they know, they're not all going to make it home. The Rollerville Roller Disco was actually built over a cemetery, and due to a massive blizzard, they are all trapped in there with a killer. And so begins the bloody, gory massacre. The Year of Blood is what the author calls it, the start of it. And what I like about Cameron Robeek too is that he takes the time so you could kind of get to know the characters. The first 100 pages, there's the tension build up. You know something bad is going to happen. And there is a large, you know how usually like in horror, it's usually the sequel or the second where there's like a lot of killings. This one, it's like the first one. Like it's not just like 5 teens. This is like 30-ish. So when I say it's a massacre, it's a massacre. But you do get a bit of a focus on certain number of teens where they're kind of more the center of the story. And I like the payoff with that because sometimes in slasher, the characters are very one-dimensional. You don't really get to know too much about them. Maybe like what their hobby, maybe a little bit, but like you don't really feel any connection with them. So when they die, or if they die, you don't, it's just like, okay. But in this one, you're actually rooting for quite a few of the teens, and you want them to make it, but they're all not going to make it. So you're more invested in the story, and it makes the story more memorable. So like I said, it's like the 100 pages, there's tension build up, you're getting to know the characters, and then it's just slice and dice from there. So I highly recommend this if you're into slasher. And if you're into like 80s kind of stuff and you want to give something a try, like I recommend picking this up and trying this out because I really enjoyed this one. And oddly enough, it made me want to go rollerblading. Like, I know those are roller skates, but do you rollerblade or roller skate? I could do both, but I haven't roller skated in a long time. I would probably fall and bust my butt. All right, and then last but not least, I have Cameron Robeek's Golf Curse. And this actually takes place a couple of months after Disco Deathtrap. But it's nothing too spoilery. This does mention this. It's the Year of Blood, but you don't have to read them in order. I think it'd be fine. It would be more fun if you did, but it's not that big of a deal if you don't. So in Golf Curse, you're following Ronnie and Mark. Ronnie's kind of the main character. He's kind of more the geeky guy. They have summer jobs at the Indian Hill Golf Course. And then you have Joe, Jeff, who are also teenagers, and they're kind of more the pranksters. And then you have some other characters as well who are part of the maintenance crew and things. So you're following them and what their jobs are at the golf course, you know, and then little things start to happen that are kind of odd and a little creepy. And then all of a sudden you realize they go into that there was a curse upon this land done by Chief Tomahawk, who was the evil medicine man from the Kickawa tribe. His people were slaughtered in a massacre, and he does go into detail about the massacre, and it's pretty gruesome. And then of course their boss makes them pull an all-nighter because there's a golf tournament coming up, so the boys have to, and the maintenance crew, to get time and a half, because of course why wouldn't you want that. They pull an all-nighter, and that's when Chief Tomahawk decides to, you know, just come back and say hello and tell them that he's still a little upset about what happened to his people in the nicest way possible. And I say that with complete sarcasm because this is very, if you like slasher, definitely give this, I mean, we're just talking slicing and dicing. Trigger warning, there is scalping in this, so if you're all sensitive to that kind of thing. And Cameron Robeek is very detailed about his kills too, so again, if you're sensitive to that, then I would stay away, but I mean, honestly, it was really good. The only thing that was hard for me is because I'm more of a putt-putt arcade kind of girl, not really a golfer. There was some mention of some equipment in here that I'm not at all familiar with, but his writing, he does tell you what the machine does, so you can still picture the blades and, you know, and it turns out Cameron Robeek worked at a golf course. That's probably why he very familiar with this equipment and stuff. But if you golf, then you wouldn't have a hard time, or if you ever worked at a golf course. But it's not that I had a difficult time. Like I said, he let you know what the equipment does, and I could still picture this in my head like a movie. Like, his writing is very good. I could definitely see this being a movie. A very fun one, actually. And this is one of those too, like, you know, when you're not rooting for the bad guy, but you can kind of understand why he's upset. So if this had a sequel, I would definitely read it, because it's not that I like the bad guy, but I'm interested in his story, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. I would be interested to know more about him and his people and, you know, things like that. I'm trying not to give too much away. But yeah, definitely give this author a try if you want some slashy goodness. Alright, so I have 2 more books to share with you, but that's it for my Camathon. I very much enjoyed reading these, and I suggest you check them out. I was going to do 2 readathons this month, but I couldn't get to the other one. Like I said, I'm coming out of a book slump, so I usually read between 4 to 15 books in a month. But that may have been a little bit too ambitious for me coming out of a book slump. But these definitely helped. All 3 of these were great. So thank you guys. Thank you, Cameron. All right, so the next book I read was actually Wednesday Addams' Library. You have the Addams Family Wednesday's Library. That's basically what it's called. And this isn't really a novel. This is more what Wednesday Addams' Library would consist of. You have little sections of different stories of stuff like Wuthering Heights, Dr. Jekyll, Poe. There was a lot of Dorian Gray in there, stuff that she would read, and then she kind of gives you her little, there's like a little journal entry on the other side of the page of her opinion on it. So you have stuff like, we live in the flicker, may it last as long as the old earth keeps rolling, but darkness was here yesterday. That's Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. And then on this side, Wednesday will give like her little journal entry, and she goes, Conrad is reminding us that there would be no light without darkness. This is exactly what I've been trying to tell everyone. I am the darkness. Without me, you'd be nothing. So you have a little sass right there. I marked my favorite ones. Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray. I don't want to be at the mercy of my emotions. I want to use them, to enjoy them, and to dominate them. And then Wednesday goes, I too like to be in control of my emotions. One time, I almost smirked. So this would actually be a good Christmas present for anybody who likes Addams Family, or, you know, Wednesday especially. This is a really cute, this would be a good gift. Like, I would have loved this from somebody. And even though I didn't read this, I wanted to give another example of this kind of book. They also have Belle. So you have Belle's library, and then she does her cute little, like, Belle would read stuff like A Midsummer Night's Dream, Antony and Cleopatra, The Blazing World, The Book of a Thousand Nights and a Night, The Canterbury Tales. So you get little excerpts from that, and then you get Belle's little opinion on them. So anybody who likes Belle, which I'm sure a lot of you do, I have the Belle one and the Wednesday one. I think these are the only two that are out. With the Wednesday one just came out recently. So again, that's another good Christmas present idea. All right, then last but not least, I'm reading Uzumaki Junji Ito, and this is a manga. I've heard about this. It came highly recommended, and I'm really glad I checked it out. This is actually the complete set. This is a trilogy, and I believe it's done. So I'm not in a rush to get through it because I'm really enjoying it. So I'm only going to review, I'm into the second novel, I believe, but I'm only going to review the first one. So this is a story about, you're following a boyfriend-girlfriend, but it's about a spiral shape that has taken over a town, and it is affecting the people of the town both physically and mentally. But you're kind of following the boyfriend-girlfriend throughout the whole thing. But each story is kind of different characters and how a certain shape is, how the spiral is affecting them. And you can see spirals everywhere. Like, I will never look at my fingertips the same way again. Like, there's spirals here, the curls of your hair, snails. So these people are seeing it, and it's driving them to do things or to become things. And it's very creepy. There's parts of these I laugh. I'm very surprised by some of them. The artwork is amazing. Did I show y'all? I don't think I did. I don't want to show anything in here because it would be a spoilery, but that's the kind of artwork. And there's some color in here, but it's mostly black and white. But yeah, I don't want to show too much in here because I don't want to spoil you guys. Because I'll turn the page and be like, what the heck just happened? How did that happen? So I highly recommend this. And then for those of you that know me, or them following me, you know that I really appreciate symbolism, psychology, philosophy. So I don't know if maybe the author was trying to say, like, for the boyfriend, her name is Kiri. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, or I can't pronounce it very well. Kyochi or something like that. But the boyfriend wants to leave town. And he actually says in here, he's kind of staring off into space, and he's like, the looming mountains behind us, the winding streets, it all gets on my nerves. Yes, winding. I'm getting wound up. Spirals. This town is contaminated with spirals. And that's before stuff starts to happen. That's right at the beginning. So I'm wondering if maybe the author, like, I know spirals are hypnotic, but if the spirals maybe represent the symbolism of just the repetitiveness of life, like routine, and how it can affect you both physically and mentally, kind of drive you crazy. Let me know what you think. Like, if you've read this and you kind of got that same vibe, but that's kind of how I feel, like what he's trying to say. But I could just be rereading too much into it, you know. Like I said, I really like philosophy and psychology and symbolism, so I could just be looking for something that's not there, but I don't think I am. Like, I kind of got that vibe. But yeah, let me know if any of these books sound interesting to you, or if you've read any of them and what you thought. And I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving. Me and Steve are gonna go read some more and have some leftover pumpkin pie. All right, y'all have a good one. Bye.